Kia ora, gentlemen. Just going to quickly run through your PE assignment for this year. It is the Analysing and Improving Performance assignment, and it's based around basketball. It will contribute to 20% of your final grade. Remember, 50% of your overall grade is external, assessed at the end of year exam, and the other 50% is internal. So 20% of this assignment will contribute towards that. The other 30% is broken down to those 10% sporting performances of those who've already done softball and CrossFit, and then we'll have basketball to do later this term. So running into this assignment, I'll just run through the clear guidelines. Again, we want you to present this in a 12 font, and it's not to exceed the overall assignment, which contributes into 4 separate tasks, is not to exceed 8 pages. Again, that may seem overwhelming at the moment, but just to emphasize, we're going to break this down into pieces. The first part for this week is going to be focused on task 1. I'll quickly just go over what the other tasks involve, again, just to give you a brief outline, and then we'll come back to task 1. So task 2 is to complete a skill analysis using biomechanical and anatomical knowledge. Again, there's a variety of skills you can choose, and you'll refer back to the information we talked to in term 1. Obviously, the benefit of this assignment is it is research-based, and you have all the notes to include and accessible to you as you'll be doing this in your own time. Task 3 is your skill strengths and weaknesses. So it's just identifying one strength and one weakness in your performance. And lastly, task 4 is design a drill. And some of this information, if you see down here, open and closed skills, mass practice, we haven't taught you this information yet. It's included in a next unit that will be done shortly. So again, hence why we're focusing on task 1 at the moment. We will be teaching this, so it will become quite relevant to you. So again, this will be due later this term. At the moment, this work, as you'll see up in here, is going to be draft work. However, we do want you to finish off and complete what we subscribe as the ideal amount of work to do per page. And this work here will contribute to 3/4 of a page, and then the other factor 3/4 of a page. And you'll see this is due this Wednesday. So that'll give you 4 lessons, including that double that we have on Tuesday. So this first part is all around physiological, psychological, and social factors that might affect your performance in basketball. You'll notice this word here, as I described earlier, we haven't taught this unit. It is in our next unit, hence why in red, just ignore this. We will come back to it. We're just focused on these 2 factors here. So the first one, physiological factors, we taught that in term 1, and then also components of fitness we taught in term 2, last term. And then social factors, again, that's sort of what we've been teaching to you in this current unit. So just to emphasize the part is explain how these factors could affect your performance in basketball. So again, the main points here is explain how the factors could affect your performance in basketball. And under each factor, again, 3/4 of a page is what we're looking for. And how you structure it would be looking at one of these factors. Again, there may be other ones that you want to cover. These are just to give you an idea. So if I was going to say choose how strength might affect, for instance, my performance in rugby, I would go over first of all, what is strength? I would define it. So the ability to bear weight. And I'll go into it. Strength may reduce or minimize my chance of injury by building up resistance in the tendons and ligaments and strength within there. Also, to increase the strength and power I could produce in specific muscles such as the shoulders, forearms, wrists, which would increase the length I can kick, how I could lift someone in the line out, for instance. So each idea that I'll cover or factor would say be a paragraph, and as I just quickly explained in there, I would use the definition of the word, how could it affect my performance, and then I can include some examples, and that would be somewhat the structure. Some tips to go over would be make sure that you actually include the definition in each one. Use paragraphs. Make sure at the start you brainstorm ideas. It's better to do a few factors in depth rather than doing quite a lot and this being very descriptive and not going into the detail. Again, you could easily fill up the 3/4 of the page, but it could be all descriptive work. Remember, we're looking at explaining how a factor could affect your performance, and within that, including an example. Pop down to social factors. Again, there are a variety of ideas here that you could talk about. By no means are you constricted to these ideas, and we're aiming for 3/4 of a page again as well. Same structure, a paragraph on each of these. Again, you can choose your own ones rather than doing lots of different ideas. Again, looking at a paragraph, we're looking at 6 or more lines together, and then once you're finished with that idea, move on to the next paragraph. So it's a lot easier for the markers to mark, and we can clearly see that you've identified ideas. Of course, some of these may link together when you go through them. So if I refer back to my other one, quickly, briefly go over an idea of, say, rugby, I could talk about the previous experience within my family. Could have been that every Saturday night we watch rugby, and with that, I got brought up with it. Say my dad was a coach when I was younger, brought me into the game. We'd go out the back and kick a ball around. At lunchtime, we'd be on the rugby field playing touch, between classes, throwing the ball around. All these aspects here, obviously I'd explain how it affects or could possibly affect my performance. And again, how these all there, it's not a positive effect, it could also be a negative effect. For instance, my family never watches it, I'm never exposed to it, we never have the money to go and buy the sorts of things I need to participate in that sport. Again, these are just to give you some ideas. And obviously you need to do your own research. And as I explained earlier, you need to make sure that you sit down, have a quick brainstorm. A lot of these are your ideas. You can't really copy anybody else's work because everybody will be different. And just on that note around copying, obviously when you submit this assignment at the end, which could be possibly at the end of this term, when we've done all the different tasks, we will put it through GrammarNet. It has a similarity check on there. And basically what that means is that it checks everything on the internet. So if you do use some ideas off the internet and you do some research, which you can do from here, make sure you reference it. So just include at the back of your assignment, click in all the websites you've used, and then put a 1 by it. Say if it's my first reference, and then when you've used that idea or a quote from it, then just put a 1 next to it in brackets. Obviously a lot of this work will be your own, but we do understand there'll be some research in here. If you are, as I mentioned, using any other work, it should only be a sentence or an idea from somewhere or a fact that you've referenced from a source. Make sure you just reference that. And obviously we will check that similarity check does also check beside other assignments and other ones done previously in the years before. Lastly, ask your teachers if you have any questions. Thanks for listening, gents.